My name's Jane Maguire. I have more than 30 years' experience teaching modern foreign languages in state secondary schools. I'm a member of the Primary Latin Project Committee and I work for the charity Classics for All. Latin introduces children at quite a young age to what language is, how it's structured, how it's made up, and how different languages relate to each other and where they've come from. It supports their work in literacy and it enhances their understanding of their own language as well as modern foreign languages. Schools don't need to find a specialist language teacher or a specialist classics teacher. The Minimus course has so much support and resource material around it that any class teacher, any teaching assistant can be very successfully trained to deliver it. Children have a very keen awareness when they're doing Latin of how it's helping them. Coming down on the train this morning, I met a young man who took Latin GCSE last year, and I said to him, "How do you feel about it? Has it made any difference to you?" And he said, "I'm glad you asked me that. I'm doing French AS and it's been a fantastic help to me. I'm so glad I did it." A really good example, I think, of how Latin can help children both with English and with modern foreign languages. At the beginning of chapter 2 in the Minimus book, they learn about animals and they describe them. So if we take a porcus obesus, a fat pig, what do children get out of that? They have their knowledge of nouns and adjectives reinforced. They learn that Latin nouns have different endings and they might relate those to the Latin names that they've got. They see that Latin adjectives have to match using the same adjectives. So in other words, through fun activities and fat pigs amongst other things, they're learning about the gender of nouns and adjectival agreements, which is obviously going to be a huge help once they start learning modern foreign languages. Beyond that, the porcus takes them very neatly into understanding how pork comes from pig and how obese, which has nothing very obviously to do with the word fat, comes to mean what it does. In terms of cross-curricular links for children, the obvious is history. Children have to learn about the Romans in Britain in Key Stage 2, and the Minimus coursebook is based around the life of a family who actually lived in the north of England during the Roman times. If primary children have studied Minimus, then that can be picked up very, very successfully by using the Cambridge Latin course, which is the course most commonly used in secondary schools. So they can progress to their local high school, where they could move on to that, and then up to GCSE Latin, which is hugely on the increase in state secondary schools now. We've had tremendous support from our local museum, which is Norwich Castle. We take children there regularly for Roman days, and the museum has been very, very open to working with us and incorporating Latin into its existing Roman days. Grants can be obtained for Minimus from the Minimus website. They're very generous grants for schools to set up teaching Minimus in terms of buying resources. Classics for All, the charity which promotes the teaching of classics, Latin and Greek, in state schools, will give grants for Latin and Greek. There are numerous resources to support. There's the Minimus website. There's a very comprehensive teacher's book and CD. There are extra reading books. There are activities on the website. There's a recently published book called Minimus in Practice, which gives lots of extra classroom ideas. There is an iBook, and we have apps on the way.